You know, every business that's growing eventually hits a wall. A data wall. The system that worked perfectly for one store, well, it becomes an absolute tangled mess when you're trying to manage 10. So today, we're going to dive into a real-world story of how a growing grocery chain took its chaotic data and turned it into a seriously powerful asset. Let's break down how they went from spaghetti to schema.
This one sentence, pulled right from the project's business case, it just says it all, doesn't it? Excel spaghetti. I mean, we've all been there, right? That crazy web of spreadsheets where each one is just a little bit different, but they're all supposed to be holding the keys to the kingdom. It's a super common problem, but for a business that's trying to scale, it's also incredibly dangerous.
So the whole thing really boils down to understanding the gap between where you are and where you need to be. On one side, you've got this spaghetti. We're talking duplicated headers, data types all over the place, dates formatted a dozen different ways. And then on the other side, there's the goal, a clean, organized database where you can load data reliably. And that's what sets the stage for the really powerful stuff, like predictive analytics. It's a journey, really, from total chaos to crystal clarity.
And here's the roadmap for that journey. First, we're going to really dig into what the spaghetti problem looks like. Then, we'll see how you design a proper blueprint before you even think about writing code. From there, we'll walk through the build, the data loading process, and finally, the best part, the payoff, the incredible insights this new structure unlocks.
Okay, first up, the problem itself. As this grocery chain grew, their simple spreadsheets just couldn't keep up. They became a huge bottleneck, making it pretty much impossible to make smart, data-driven decisions.
So how do you fix something like that? Well, you definitely don't just start coding. That's a recipe for disaster. Think about it. You wouldn't build a house without a plan, right? You need a blueprint. This is probably the most critical step because without it, you're just going to build a more expensive, more complicated version of the exact same mess.
And in the data world, that blueprint has a name. It's called an entity relationship diagram, or an ERD for short. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful visual tool. It basically forces you to sit down and define the most important things in your business, your stores, your products, your sales, and then map out exactly how they're all connected to each other.
And this is where the order starts to appear out of the chaos. You sift through all those messy spreadsheets and you start to pull out the core nouns of the business. What are we talking about? We're talking about stores, products, categories, vendors, and of course, the all-important sales transactions. Just defining these things is the first massive step in untangling that spaghetti.
All right, so with a solid blueprint in hand, we can switch hats from architect to builder. It's time to take that plan, that ERD, and turn it into a real physical database structure that's ready to hold our nice, clean data.
And the process is super methodical. You start with the ERD, your blueprint. Then you translate that blueprint into something called Data Definition Language, or DDL, which is really just a fancy way of saying the SQL commands that tell the database how to build the tables. Then you set up the database itself. In this case, they used Postgres, which is a great open source choice, and you run that DDL to create your perfectly structured but still empty tables.
Now, an empty database is kind of like a brand new, perfectly organized warehouse with nothing in it. It's not very useful, right? So the next big challenge is moving all that valuable information from the old, messy spreadsheets into this new structured home. And you have to do it in a way that's clean, correct, and something you can do over and over again.
And this is where the ETL process comes in. It stands for extract, transform, and load. It's a pretty simple idea. You extract the data from the spreadsheets, you transform it, which means cleaning up all the inconsistencies and fixing the formats, and then you load it into your pristine new database. This isn't just a one-time data dump, it's a reliable pipeline you can count on.
But how do you actually trust the data once it's in there? Well, you do it with some serious sanity checks. You're counting rows to make sure nothing got lost. You're ensuring every sale actually links to a real store. You're hunting down duplicates. A really important concept here is making the process idempotent, which just means you can run it 100 times and it won't create 100 copies of your data. It's a huge safety net. Now, throughout this whole process, there's a really cool modern twist. Instead of doing everything by hand, this project used AI. Not as a replacement for the expert, but as a really, really capable assistant to speed everything up.
So what did the AI actually do? Well, it acted like a brainstorming partner, proposing different ways to design the ERD. It took on the tedious work, like spitting out a first draft of a data dictionary. It even helped write initial executive summaries.
All of this just massively accelerated the entire workflow.
So this brings up the key question, doesn't it? If AI can do all of that, what's left for the human expert to do? Well, as it turns out, the most important part.
The human expert is always the final authority. The AI's suggestions were just that, suggestions. They were reviewed, they were edited, and yeah, in some cases they were completely thrown out, because the human expert understood the business context in a way the AI just couldn't. Think of it this way. AI is the co-pilot, but the human is always the captain who makes the final call.
So, we've gone all the way from spaghetti to a clean, structured, and even AI-assisted database. Was it all worth it? Oh yeah, let's talk about the payoff, because this is where the magic really happens. What can you actually do with this solid foundation?
Well, with that clean foundation, a whole new universe of analysis just opens up. Suddenly, you can actually see sales trends and spot weird outliers. You can understand seasonality, and you can finally answer questions that were impossible before, like what's our real sales mix by department, or how do our loyalty members actually behave compared to everyone else? These answers are now right at your fingertips.
And all of this leads to the first major strategic goal of the whole project, building a model to predict daily sales for every single store. I mean, that's the holy grail for operations, right? It helps with everything from how many people you schedule to how much inventory you order. This is the first real step into the world of predictive analytics.
And here's the key metric for success. One of the main goals was to get over 95% of the original data rows successfully into the new system. Hitting this number wasn't just some technical checkbox, it was proof. Proof that the new, structured schema was robust enough to handle the messiness of the real business without losing tons of valuable information along the way.
Look, building this foundation isn't the end of the story. Not even close. It's really just the beginning. This first huge step unlocks a much longer and way more valuable analytics journey for the whole organization.
This first challenge was all about going from spaghetti to schema, building that rock-solid foundation. But just look at what it makes possible. The next step is to go even deeper on data quality and cleaning. Then, you can use that super clean data for advanced forecasting. And from there, you can start tackling the really big strategic questions, like the true return on investment of your membership program. See how each step builds on the last one?
So, let's wrap this up. What are the big things to take away from this? First, you just can't scale your analytics if your data is a mess. Structure is absolutely essential. Second, taking that blueprint approach from the start is the only way to prevent future headaches. Third, a clean foundation is basically the launchpad for all the powerful predictive insights you want. And finally, yeah, AI can be an amazing co-pilot, but human expertise has to stay in the driver's seat.
I know this whole process can seem like a massive undertaking, but it all starts with one small step. So I'll leave you with this question. Looking at your own data in your own world, what's one small thing you could do today? Maybe just to find one key business term or clean up one messy column to start your own journey from spaghetti to schema.